Welcome back, everybody, to the CHG podcast.
What's
This
up,
is David.
guys?
My name is RJ. We're from CHG, CasualHardcoreGamers. This is a
We
gaming
got
podcast.
a special one for you.
We have a special few, a lot of few. But this is a gaming podcast. We talk about the games, game industry, things going on. Our opinions try to be funny, entertaining while we're at it. So this one's going to be on The Last of Us TV show.
The show
that came out on HBO Max or HBO, whatever.
An hour.
Hour and a fucking half. So that makes me wonder if it's going to be 12 episodes or not. Because if it's an hour and a half, it may be 6 or 8 or something or 9 or something.
Knows?
So, anyways, so it looks like they are releasing it weekly.
Yes.
So you and I got to talk. You and I got to talk about how we're covering that. But it is weekly. Seems to be Sunday nights. We'll have to, so we're going to do our best to watch them, cover them, and maybe not always will be on time.
The next day,
it'll be as soon as we can get them. But for this one, it worked out because David is off tomorrow for MLK Day, and I'm a night owl, so it works out fine. So, as such, the formats of the episodes going forward will be a little different because we're going to try to make all the subsequent ones on the show. So it may change things up. And so, for instance, we're not going to cover what we're playing this week. We're going to go straight into like our little icebreaker question, whatever. And this week's supplied by David. He has one cooked up. And so, David, what is it you want to ask?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, what's your favorite aspect of the Last of Us game?
The game itself, huh?
The game itself.
So this is going to be a Last of Us, just everything Last of Us episode today. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. I think when I look back at the game and people, because I'm not the only gamer in my job, but I'm the only gamer amongst my immediate work group, team. So there, and everyone knows about it. We have a lot of nerds in my marketing department. So a lot of them are going to watch it and they're going to come to me and ask about it. And when I think back to that game, I think what really pulls me in is how they took narrative and character building to the next level, to a level where it was honestly comparable to shows, movies, and other mediums that deal with character development. Mm-hmm. I think you could look at that not as the only game, but you can look at that. People could argue that was the game where it finally took. You had to take games seriously at that point. Now, I'm not saying Uncharted didn't do it, because of course Uncharted did it, and we had other games before that did it too. Great stories, great character building, great motivations, all that stuff. But Last of Us, I think, was the one where you don't have to be a gamer to appreciate the story it was telling. Like, you can just look up on YouTube the cutscenes, the movie, right? Just watch, because it's actually 4.5 hours long if you do that.
Talking about cutscenes,
and so but you basically just go. You can watch that, and you will be hooked. And not only will you be hooked, but you will also understand the game. You will understand what it was doing, even without the interactive bits in between the cutscenes. That we would get playing the game, like the little bantering stuff like that or whatever. Even if you didn't have that, you watch the cutscenes, you will know what's going on, you will feel for the characters, you will be emotionally invested in them, and that is a testament to how well they the team wrote the characters, planned out how all the set pieces would happen, and had it just naturally flow. Nothing was rushed, nothing felt forced. Everything had its time to bake and pay off, and certain aspects and everything. So I think that's what I look back most fondly on with Last of Us the most, and that's what I appreciate most about it, is just how they took characters and story building in a game finally to the level where people couldn't argue anymore. Like, games can tell stories. Games can be just as riveting emotionally and, take you through all the ups and downs as any other game. Like, who's to say? Like, if we didn't have Last of Us, would we've had enough inspiration for Cory Barlog and his team to do God of War the way they did? with the reboot and the Ragnarok, like because everyone loves loves that story and how gripping that is and how well they tell Kratos' journey through those games. It's like, would those have been as well done if we didn't have Last of Us to kind of build that foundation? So that's it for me, but I imagine something similar for you. But
Yeah,
what is it for you?
Yeah, it is similar. I think mine is more just like same like storytelling thing, but specifically the relationship between Joel and Ellie and how it evolves throughout the story was my like favorite part. Like obviously it like it seems obvious to say that it wouldn't be the same story without the two main characters, but I don't think you could have told a story as well as this without having that emotional element to it that the relationship between Joel and Ellie brought to the story. Just telling like a normal, post-apocalyptic story, I just don't think would have been able to be told as well. So I really that's what I remember is just the relationship between Joel and Ellie, everything that happens between Joel and Ellie, the eventual end, and then the events of two and stuff. It just can't happen the same way without really good, believable connections between the two characters. So that's mine. Is just the relationship between Joel and Ellie,
which I think is obviously a testament to how well the voice acting was in that game.
Oh yeah,
I think it was
great.
Was it Ashley Burch, Ashley Johnson? I forgot the name of I know her name. If you told me her name, I'm like, yeah, okay, I recognize that name. But also Troy Baker with Joel. It's it's just their voices in that game were just off the charts. Like the way they did everything was just wonderful. And not just them though, everybody, all the minor characters that came in, everybody did great. But Joel and Ellie they hit all the highs and lows that they needed to.
So talking about minor characters, and then we'll get into our thoughts. I because you did not watch the after like behind the scenes thing. So did you recognize any voice or person from the game in the show?
I thought Tommy's voice sounded familiar.
I don't know about I don't know about that.
I don't think it's but I don't think it's him. I don't think it's him.
I think it's just a similar person.
And Marlene sounds kind of familiar. But
Marlene is the voice actor of Marlene from the game.
Is it her?
Yep.
Okay, it is her.
Yep.
Yeah, I was paying real attention to the voices, right? Just to see how well like they would adapt it. Because Joel sometimes does, sometimes doesn't. Tommy when he first showed up, I was like, holy shit, that literally sounds like Tommy. But then he kept talking, and I was like, oh, it doesn't sound like Tommy. But then and Elliot, no, she doesn't. But Marlene kind of did. And I was thinking,
Marlene is the
so that's Marlene. Yeah, so we know who Marlene is now. Cool. That's nice.
Yeah,
that's really cool. And she also happens to look a lot like the Marlene in the game too.
Well, yeah. So she nice. Talked about it. She talked about it in the little after thing that they, in the game, they took her image and just kind of like
they scanned it
digitally, and digitally.
Okay.
It, yeah.
Yeah, they've done that for a few people.
She was a little bit worried. She was like, when I was in the game, they, altered me to look differently, so I don't look necessarily like Marlene from the game. But she was talking about how much love she had for the character and stuff like that, and that she wanted to do, Marlene justice on screen.
No, I thought she looked pretty one-to-one almost. So, I mean, the face wasn't as smooth or clear or whatever and all that shit, but and also they took her 10 years ago. So obviously she's aged, so she's not going to look the same. But that's pretty cool. I like that.
So let's
talk.
Now
we know who Marlene is.
Let's talk real quick about a couple things before we get into our overall thoughts on it. So I noticed some things.
Hold on. First of all, this is going to be spoiler up the ass. Okay,
yeah, up the fucking ass.
if you haven't seen it or you're gonna see it, shut it off. Shut this off because we are going to be going. This is not going to be a spoiler-free review.
No,
we're going right up to this. We're talking everything, real deep. Okay, so just this is your warning. This is your warning.
Yeah,
you're lucky I'm giving you this warning.
That's true. I mean, that's not.
David was just about to go right into it because he knows I don't give a fuck. But you be lucky I care about you guys.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So,
all right.
But before we get too far into it, I just want to, and you obviously played the game a shit ton more times than I have. You've played the prequel. I have not played the prequel.
Okay.
Have you played? I mean, not that it's going to matter, but you haven't played 2 yet.
No.
But that won't come into, I don't think, the season. Probably.
That's not going to be in this season. No. There's no way.
But you played the sequel, so that's important because it looks like if you didn't watch the after credits too, but it looks like they're going to pepper in the prequel through the season as flashbacks because that's already
I saw that. I didn't watch the behind the scenes thing, but I did watch like the next time or like upcoming. Yeah, I saw that, and I did see a merry-go-round, a Ferris wheel, which was in the Left Behind
and
prequel
the little
DLC.
Black girl, her friend. So
she was on the Ferris wheel. Yeah. She was on the Ferris wheels. Whatever. I saw her, and I was like, huh, okay. Yeah.
So
I caught it.
You know a lot. You might have. I'm probably going to lean on you a couple times like, hey, I can't remember exactly what happened in the game, but let's get off a couple things. One, there was 2 separate, and this is why I'll tell you right now, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I am very optimistic.
I think that's what we should say first. Did we like it or not?
Yeah, okay, yes, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I'm very optimistic for the season.
Yes.
We said beforehand we were talking about this that we would grade it on 2 scales, 1 as a show and 2 as an adaptation. And I guess we'll get into our reasons for both. That's a better format. So my score out of 10 for both would be as a show would be like a 8, I think. Maybe like I'm trying to take out my score as an adaptation because we'll get to that.
It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard when you're like so much of a gamer, you know.
I would probably say an 8. I think that it needed to establish characters, so there was a lot going on with establishing the characters. A lot more this time with Sarah than we got in the game. We really got to see Sarah in the world and stuff, and that was to get that emotional connection, because when you're as the video game, you are her, so that you have like a built-in connection to her, and that's what makes it all the more. So this one they had to flesh her out a bit, and I think that worked for me. But it was a little bit slow to get up and go, but I liked it. So I think an 8 out of 10 for the first episode, for an establishing episode, is pretty good for most shows. Adaptation wise, for this first episode, I'm gonna give it a 10. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. Like,
okay.
I'm not worried about. Look, like, and we've talked about this, similar things on other things. I can't remember what we talked about, but you know me. I'm always like, I give the benefit of the doubt to the artist and their interpretation of things. Like, I'm not looking for it to be a 1-for-1 shots. So characters, Sarah looking different, not that big of a deal for me. Ellie looking different, not that big of a deal for me in the looks department. We'll get on her personality here in a second. Joel, I actually think that for not being able to, photo print Joel, I think he's looks wise not that off. I will say that that Trish does Tess is the most different in my opinion, looks wise. Tess, I think we talked about this when the trailers came out. Tess in the game, she's a hottie. Tess in the show, not so much of a hottie.
That's still your own opinion, though. I don't agree with you on that, but I remember you saying that.
Oh, or you don't think Tess was a hottie? Or you don't think the girl in the show is a hottie?
I was not attracted to Tess in the game at all. She was
Oh.
like, she would kill me. She would whip my ass.
That's true.
I was
And,
not
and
attracted
okay,
to
and
Tess.
on that, you might get to that because she did seem like a badass woman, like a woman that's like
Oh yeah,
been through
but
some
in this
shit.
game, sorry, in the show, even scarier.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, this,
Yeah,
this
like
woman would kill me.
when she's just like like with Robert, talking with Robert, and she's tied up, and Robert still looks afraid of both her and Joel. Like that was pretty cool. But no,
Yeah.
so I'm not too. What I'm trying to say is I looks wise, as long as they don't go too crazy, I'm not a big component. But so there was a couple things with adaptation that really impressed me. There was 2 load screens that they shot in that show. There was the window seal with the blowing curtain.
Maybe I missed that part. I didn't see that.
That was very early on when we were introduced to Sarah. There was the window, like it was window and the curtain blew in the wind.
I missed that.
And then there was the low shot with the dust and and something I can't remember, but there was 2 load screen shots that I noticed in there. You have other tiny details like Sarah wearing the shirt she was wearing, different colors.
Caught that.
But it was a shirt.
Caught that.
You
almost
have
the exact same print too of the chick.
The exact same one. It just looked a little clearer because obviously video game, real life. Some of the lines that was given, like "I sell drugs, I sell hardcore drugs."
I was waiting for that too. I waited for Joel to also say like, "Oh, well, I guess you can help with the mortgage." Then
I did want that. I did want that, but like
I was waiting for that. I was like, "Oh no, you didn't say it."
I had to rewind to check to see if he said it or not. I didn't.
He didn't.
He didn't. But no, it was that was cool, and like I don't know, like there was other things that the sequence of Sarah, of them running at the very beginning, like the camera work to like as they turned around to go backwards, like that's in the game. Like I don't know, I felt it was really, really well done. Again, you've played more, so you might remember the sequences more. I think it might have worked. Maybe if it didn't work as well for you, maybe it worked better for me because I have less to like really zero in on and more like it's filling the blanks in my mind. So I remember it like, oh yeah, that's how it was, even if it wasn't. You might not have gotten that way just because you have a more experience in that medium. But no, I'll give it like I said, 8 for a show. Looking probably going to be better episodes in the future. 10 for adaptation just because of their attention to detail. And I think to talk about adaptation, if I'm saying characters don't look the same, I think they got Ellie's brashness. Now we have yet to see her playful side yet, but they got her brashness and her love for the F bomb. So
yes, they did.
You know,
yes, they did.
Yeah, so I'll, that's what I want. Like I want them to like it's all about emotion and personality, and I think they got it for every character they've introduced so far, in my opinion. But I digress. What's your scores for both?
All right. Well, so I guess as David alluded, I played this game more times. I have played through this game start to finish. I think 5.
We get a drink.
5 times? Oh, there goes David. I'll talk to the people. I think like 5 times. I've gone through the entire. So with my former partner, I didn't want to bore her through the whole game because she wasn't a gamer or still isn't. But I figured she might like the story, so we actually watched the whole cutscenes as well. So I guess you can maybe count that as a go through. But at least 5 times I think I've actually played it through start to finish, and so it's more top of mind. I remember more of it because I played it not just that one time and then never touched it again. I played it multiple times. So yeah, that's just, I guess, for you guys to keep in mind. As a show, if I'm trying to think as a show watcher, like not knowing whatever, right? It's just like, oh, apparently it's a video game adaptation. I don't know. I don't care. I'm trying to think like I'm like as if I'm on my mom because I know she's going to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably say a 7. As a show, at least in the first episode. For the first episode, I think I would say a 7.
I was gonna say 7. I was gonna say
Yeah,
7.
definitely not bad. It does hit some emotional highs, especially when Sarah dies,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and just kind of seeing the world that they're in now, kind of building some of that. Like it's like, oh man, this is just rough. Like just we didn't get to see them burn bodies in the game. Like that was nasty. I was like,
No,
oh
but
shit.
that's another thing.
Um,
In the game, you saw it in the panning shot.
yeah,
Them
you would
throwing
see it,
bodies
but you
into the
didn't.
fire.
But you didn't like. I don't remember. For me, it's like something I didn't think about. It was just something in the
Yeah.
background, part of the scenery. But like, I was like, damn.
But yeah, them killing
They
the
burning
kids
bodies. Yeah, like
and killing the kid. They're like, oh, this is like okay.
this is what you got to do. This is what I mean. But I mean, it was nice. But I'm just saying, like, wow, like it just really makes paints a bleak picture. So, as a show at 7, as an adaptation, I was actually going to say somewhere between 8 and 9. Not 10 just yet because I guess that's just me being a stickler. I guess because I am a little still like I still can't get used to yet Ellie looking like how she does, even with her brash as a personality still being pretty authentic. Just looking at that, it's just like
motherfucker.
Yeah, it's just weird hearing that brashness come from that face. I don't know. It's just I can't get used to. I mean, I will eventually, but for now, it's still a bit like weird looking.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so and also some other things too, like some lines, like for instance, like me was like, oh, you can start paying help out with the mortgage. Then, like there were some lines that I remember verbatim that are not there, or they say it rushed. So, for instance, like the end of the episode where it ends ends with the 3 of them getting caught by the guard. Which is slightly different than the game. There was 2 of them in the game.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that because I couldn't remember how they found
2.
out that
and one was a woman too. I remember correctly. But yeah, those 2 of them. But other than that, it pretty much plays out the same, more or less the same, maybe with a little extra filler, but it plays out pretty much the same. They get caught. They have to turn around. Well, actually, they didn't need to turn around. They just went behind them and did it. Same thing though. So they start, checking them out, and then Ellie does pull the knife out and stabs the guy, and then they shoot him. Which that was different. They shot the guy. They shot both of them, but then Joel in the show, he just punches him to death. Which was
I think that connects.
Oof,
I think that shows his fatherly instincts kicking in.
Oh, I thought he was just having. I thought he was having a
to,
PTSD moment because of what happened with him and his daughter. That's how I took it. Yeah. He was having a PTSD flashback. Yeah. He was like, "Not again!" They just like tackled the guy and just punched him to death. But anyways, the lines of them finding out that Ellie's infected and all that stuff, like the lines were there, but they were way more rushed and said differently. Like it was way in the game. It's a bit slower, more methodical, because Joel and Ellie are like, or sorry, Joel and Tess are kind of like, what the fuck just happened? Why did you? Because like after they killed the 2 guards, they were like, what just happened? Why did you do that? And then they see the thing and they're like Tess and Joel actually take it way calmer than they do in the game.
In the game?
In the show, Tess is freaking out. She's losing it. She's like, what the fuck? Like, Joel, look. In the game, she was like, hey, took a look at this and passed him the thing. And he's like, what are we doing walking around with an infected girl? Like, that's all it was. Like, way calmer and cooler than in the show. So it's just I think for me, that's what keeps it a 10. But there is enough, like you said, that it's just like, the pieces that are important, I think, are all there. And also it's interesting to see the way they got to certain points, because yes, it's a show, you got to add a bit more. It's a different audience. You're going to have more of a general audience. And also you kind of do need to flesh things a bit more to make cutscenes last longer. And so it was just interesting, like to see the way they got to, like how Sarah gets upstairs to go to bed and wakes up. That's different. That plays out slightly differently, but it still makes sense. Like, we're like, because when you in the game, when you play as Sarah, Joel's not in the house, and you're like, I didn't think about it, but when you really think about it, it's like, did Joel just leave his teenage daughter home alone at night? But in the show, at least it gets explained. He has to go get his brother, and also explains why he's with his brother in the first place. Because in the show, in the game, he just Tommy's just there, right? And he just shows up with the truck, and it's like, but in the game, I don't know, I never thought about it. It's just like, okay, cool, we gotta go. There's no time to think. We just gotta go. But if you really think about it, it doesn't make sense. It's like, well, wait, why is he there? And the game never explains it, but the show explains it in a really good way. Like it's a pretty
Yeah,
I buy it.
fits the
Yeah,
characters.
I buy it. It's like, yo, like I was at a bar, dude beat up some other woman for no reason, which also sets up the cordyceps, which is a nice little touch.
Dude, we
So
need to talk about that too. But
so
continue.
he kind of it kind of plants the seeds right from the start, like because like, if you listen, Tommy says like, oh, yeah, this dude was just beating on some waitress for no reason, so I knocked the guy out and all this stuff, and then the police came and blah blah blah. It was like, why else would a dude just randomly beat a woman at a bar? He didn't even say he was drunk. He just started beating on the guy out of nowhere. Bam, seed planted. So really smart writing there, right? So it's like, but it explains the situation. And then also I was kind of confused at first of like, why does Joel all of a sudden care about Tommy, right? Because in the game, doesn't even bring up his brother, like barely. And when he meets him, he has a good relationship with his brother, right? And so it's like, why is he so concerned? But I was like, well, it makes sense because at least it gives Joel a motivation in the show. Because in the game, he doesn't really have anything except being an asshole with Tess and killing Robert, right? And that's it. That's not really good motivation for a show, though. For a game, perfect. Yeah, beat the next bad guy, right? They're perfect. But for a show, not so perfect. So I was thinking about it. And I was like, this makes sense. I like it because at least it gives Joel a direction this early in the show, which he didn't have at this point in the game. So I'm like, cool. I will say it was a bit disappointing that they didn't have a showdown with Robert and his goons. Like they took out a lot of the fight stuff. Like there was basically no fighting in this first episode.
But like,
right?
yeah, and if you think about it, like, I don't know if we would want to watch a show that like every fucking 5 minutes.
I'm not saying I need fighting every time, but it was like I was expecting at least some altercation with Robert, right? And it was like. The Fireflies took him out. Like, holy shit, what? Okay. But it also explains then why Marlene was hurt. Because they find Marlene, she's hurt. We don't even know why she's hurt. Like, why are you bleeding out, Marlene? We just met you and you're hurt. Like, where you been? But the show explains it because the fight, instead of Joel and Ellie, Joel and Tess fighting Robert and his goons, the Fireflies fought Robert and his goons because because we did know in the game that Marlene and Robert were supposed to do that deal. They were supposed to do the deal, but the deal never goes down in the game because Joel and Ellie beat him, killed him. But in the show, they reversed that and they they tried to do the deal before Joel and Tess show up, but it goes bad. And then that's why Robert and his goons die. So same result, but they mix it up, but it actually still makes sense because now it explains why Marlene has a wound. And
her line to her little like lieutenant when she's just like, let me take her, is like, you don't got a fucking ear on your fucking head.
Oh, she said ear. I thought she said hair because she had like shorter hair. No. Okay, ear. It was ear. Okay, that makes way more sense.
You don't have. I thought she said hair.
That makes way more sense.
And then I saw her ear.
I saw her ear.
You don't have an ear on your fucking head.
I did see her ear. I was like, man, her ear got messed up. So you get to the same end result of the no one really dealing with no one going with the deal. Marlene telling Joel and Tess that you need to take Ellie now, and then also explains why Marlene's hurt. So it was really cool and neat to see the way that they got to some of the important parts in the game, but in different ways, but they still made sense. They were still very believable and fit with the story of the narrative, in my opinion, very well. So I was looking for things like that, not necessarily the fine details. Those are just bonuses for me, like the shirt, and I guess you said like the loading screens, and also like what
it shows that they care about.
Well, I would hope so because Neil Druckmann is the executive producer on the show, and he was the producer on the game.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that.
I would hope he had some say in the show, but or like when they were driving out of the neighborhood at first, and then the burning farm that they passed by, frame for that is farm. Frame for frame. Even the words that they said, even the words that Tommy said. 1-to-1. It's like, so those are just bonuses in my opinion. I'm really looking for like, how are they going to get to the important parts of the narrative, right? And the way they got there was really good. Some things were 1-to-1, and some things they had to get a little creative, but they still got to the same end result. So far, really nothing's been skipped, which is great. So far, nothing has really been skipped. Nothing too important has really been skipped at all. Yeah, it's been great to see. I mean, yes, the explosion that happens from the fireflies was different because Tess was with Joel when that explosion happens, not being interrogated by Robert when that explosion happened. So that was different.
Yeah, but
that's minor. That's not a big
in the
deal.
show, we don't have to stay with Joel the whole time like we do in the game.
So, but it also explains why Tess was hurt when she found Joel in the first place. So it's just a retelling of some of the early story bits, but you also get some explanations for certain things that you just have to accept in the game, but they provide context for almost everything. So everything you might have thought, like why are you like this? Where did you come from? This and they explain it all, and it's really impressive if you know the game really well. So for that, it's like an 8 or a 9. For me, I'm still on I don't know what to say yet, but it's somewhere in the 8.5. Let's go with 8.5.
But the fact that we're at that point for even one episode, I think is good. Like I think we're both pretty impressed. I think we're both looking forward to the rest of the season. Let's talk a little bit about I think they did an extremely good job on the infected, the cordyceps zombies or whatever you're gonna call them. The fucking fungus coming out of the mouth, like the tentacle shit.
At first I was like, is that? Because I saw that too with the old lady, with the old grandma at first, and I was like, first I was thinking like, was that hair, right? Because she seemed to be batting on the neck. But I was like, that shit's moving. That shit is moving. What is happening here? And I was like, yo, what? So I'm thinking, is that the fungi coming out through the mouth? Like, what is happening here?
Dude.
So, because you don't.
But I think the practical effects, like, I'm sure there's CGI in there, like the things moving is probably CGI, but they don't go full bore. We've seen glimpses, like the one stuck to the wall.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was practical. That looked too real to be any kind of CGI. The little glimpse that we've had of the clickers have looked practical. We'll have to see them when it's not just flashes of them, but they look practical. The Boston environment looked really good. When they got out, like, it was dark in the show, but I know you watched the later in, Last of Us. When it was daytime, fucking buildings collapsed and shit with overgrowth. It all looked really good. This show, like, and it's, obviously from the creator, from the same studio that did Game of Thrones and stuff like that, and all the set pieces and shit that they did for that show, we can expect this, but they really, I think, hit the atmosphere, and the backdrops and shit all looked great.
So you said the people we had Game of Thrones people working on this show? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's HBO.
Well, I mean,
it's HBO. It's the same
work. I mean, yes, it's the same company that I don't know. Whatever. I'm not gonna get.
It's an in-house.
All I know
in-house production.
is that I read that some of the people that worked on Chernobyl have worked on this show, and I haven't seen Chernobyl, but I remember hearing nothing but great things about Chernobyl and how well they set that up too. So that gave me good hopes. But I will say, yes, the environments it looks like they almost came straight from the game. They are very, very much. You will remember it if you played the game. You will remember. You're like, yep, that looks right. Like when they're in the quarantine zone and Joel and stuff are doing the thing, throwing the bodies. It's like, yeah, that area that they're around, even though it's just kind of blurred out background. It's like, no, that looks pretty much. I can see it. And I remember it from the game. Or when
the way that the wallpaper, the old wall, like shredded wallpaper looks, worn out wallpaper that in the room that Ellie was sitting in. I'm like, that shit looks exactly like from the game.
Or even something as small as the ration cards. We didn't see much of the ration cards in the game, like very little, because it was just a beginning thing. But even that, I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what I would expect it to look like in the show. Like that's even the ration cards looked pretty much authentic to the game, even though we saw them very minimally. But even when Joel and Tess are trying to get information on where Robert's at and the whole thing, that little commuting area, that looked like one of the, I don't know if that would be considered a slum, but that when you do that in the game to look for people and stuff like that, you go to the other part of the QZ, that looked a lot like it too. So it's just yeah, so the environments are great, and even like the whole chase area, like at the beginning with Robert and Sarah, with like when they're on the street in the car, and that whole set piece, like the way the buildings were all set up, like that was pretty much 1-to-1 same. They go to that diner, and then they're on that field, same, like literally I can picture it from the game, like literally happening. Like that whole sequence I think was pretty much done 1-to-1. Just about.
Yeah, it was real close. I think, nitpicking here, but I think if I remember right, the soldier, like, you know how they fell down into the ditch? I thought the soldier
he came to follow
from
him
the top of that ditch.
So they meet before the ditch, and then he shoots them, and then they fall down, and then the dude follows.
So no, it did. Okay,
he follows them.
It did go 1-for-1.
He follows them down, and then he gets shot. I will say the only thing that was weird was the plane. There was no plane crashing. There was, and also I'm thinking like, okay, that plane did not.
Wasn't there a big explosion?
Yes, but not a plane. It was a
So
a car. I think a car ran into a gas station.
Did it hit a gas station?
I think it hit a gas station. And
well, maybe they were like, that wouldn't happen in real life, so here's how a big explosion would happen.
Okay, I will say yes, because if you're playing the game, it's just like one of those kind of scripted things where a car just happens to be running and slowly going into a gas station pump, where like that would never really like. I don't even know if anyone was in that car. Like I think it was just like some ghost riding car just goes and it hits a gas pump and explodes it. But I will say, okay, because the thing about the plane, it threw me out of it for a split second, because I'm like, if a plane literally came and crashed, like that plane was not that far away, there would have been damage. All right, I know a part flew and hit the truck, but like,
yeah, that's how the truck flipped.
But like, I just feel like there would have been way more craziness if a plane crashed that close to them. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Pretty far.
It wasn't that far. I get what you mean. It's a plane, dude. It's a plane. Come on,
so,
this is a regular 737 flying through the air and crashing. Like, you're gonna get messed up.
To start wrapping up on this, let's talk about what we are looking forward to seeing in the show from the game. I'll go first. So there's two things for me. First off, because I know I looked at the cast. Well, actually, I saw him in the future episodes thing, and I was like, holy shit. But Nick Offerman.
Is that his name?
Or
okay,
Ron,
I was wondering.
Ron Swanson.
Yeah, Ron Swanson. I was like, is that his? Wait, Ron Swanson isn't his name?
No,
that's not his name.
No, it's Nick Offerman. God. No, it is Nick Offerman. But yes, he is Ron Swanson.
Okay.
Parks and Rec. He's Bill.
Yeah, he's Bill.
And
I was not surprised.
Bill.
I was caught off at that.
I'm super fucking, because I love Nick Offerman, and like I can't wait to see him as Bill. That's gonna be great.
That's gonna be weird. That's gonna be weird.
I'm good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm good with that. And then I think like, again, like what you were saying, how they get to certain parts, there is a lot of key moments in the story. The giraffe, when you take over as Ellie, when Joel's hurt, the ending sequence, that fucking I can just imagine that's the thing they're saving their money for, is that last scene where Joel just goes fucking ham and is just like, Ramboing the shit out of the Fireflies at the end. So those moments, those really, really key emotional moments, like I want them to do that right. If they hit those moments, even if some of the other show isn't as good as it could be, or maybe isn't great or whatever, like I have hope that it is. I have evidence that it could be. But as long as they hit those moments, I think I'll be satisfied with a show about a video game that we haven't had a good one. in a really long time or ever. I can't remember one.
I mean, I don't even remember. Well, as far as a show goes, I honestly don't know.
Movie, whatever, live
there
adaptation,
been.
whatever.
Yeah, but yes, I mean, apparently
if they hit those moments well, I'll be good.
Wasn't there a Halo show last year?
Yeah, I heard it was good. I just never watched it. I don't have Paramount, so
was that a live action?
Yeah, it was live action.
So I guess that was good. So we have that
I heard
at least.
Decent.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah. Yeah, they hit those key moments. Even if the rest of the show is kind of meh, that'll be good enough for me. But I'm really optimistic. I was kind of expecting it. You know me and my optimism. I was kind of thinking that it would be, but seeing it, I'm real excited. What about you? What are you looking forward to most?
Okay, I will try not to. I didn't want to be cynical for once. But I wanted to just go in blank. I was not going to expect nothing. I was not going to hope for anything. I was just going to be just go in and see, what are you guys going to do? That's how I went in. What are you guys going to do? What are you going to keep? What are you going to change? What are you going to forget? And I will say so far, yes, I am also very. Here's the thing. I don't care enough to be optimistic for the future episodes. I will still watch them, but I just don't. TV for me is just gone for me. I just don't care. But I will say that I am happy with what this first episode is. And if they continue to do that, I will be happy. I will continue to be happy. Because so far, like I said, I don't think they took out anything. They either kept it or they had to revise it. But every revision that I saw, except for the plane, made sense, and I really, really enjoyed it. That plane really was confusing. I'm not gonna lie. That was out of nowhere, man. I mean, if anything, it did, at least as a if you're a casual viewer, you don't know. It does make things seem even more insane, but in a more harrowing way. So I guess it does do that. So I'm like, whatever. But as a gamer, it's just like, what the fuck is the plane doing here? Anyways, yeah, so I'm very happy, and I hope that they continue to do this going forward. What I'm looking forward to is this is a bit out, but when they introduced Harry and his brother, which I can't remember his name for some reason, but I hope they like that from when they meet to when they eventually don't meet. I hope that whole sequence is fleshed out, like pretty fleshed out, because you're with them for a good amount of time. I think you're with them a couple chapters, I think, in the game. So I'm just praying that part, because I think out of all the sections, out of all the major moments cinematic wise in that game, the whole thing where it kind of caps off and pays off, I hope that is done. That's what I'm most looking forward to. I think that's what I'm most going to be paying most attention to, is how they pay that off with Harry and his brother. That was the most shocking moment for me out of the entire game. It still gets me, especially sibling stuff. I'm a softball sucker for that. Even without it, that's the most shocking bit. I remember playing for the first time, and then Harry does what he does, and I almost but the way the game just is you gotta go. The game pushes you right on. The game moves on because that's how that world is. You don't have time to think about even the most closest deaths that happen. You cannot think about it for too long. The game pushes that, right? But as a player, I was just I need to pause the game for a second. What the fuck? You expect me to just go? No. That's what the pause button is for. I'm stopping this. But I hope that they give that whole sequence so much time to bake, because I want the general audience to get just as attached to Harry and his brother the way I did, in the game, as many people did in the game, and then be just as shocked at the end of that as I was, and a lot of people were. If you actually watch cutscenes of that scene, go to the comments, people are breaking that shit down psychologically. There's so many layers to this death, because it goes beyond just that one scene. So I'm most looking forward to how that gets played out. And then I'm also hoping that the whole snow sequence gets at least an episode or two, or episode and a half or something, because that has probably the most character development for Joel out of the entire game. That whole snow, the winter section of the game has so much character development for Joel, even though he's in it for like half the time. But there's so much in it, and I hope, and I think they could, like, it's a snow level and all this stuff like that. I think there's so much that they can flesh out a lot more from that whole sequence, that whole winter chapter. And I think that's like the second thing I'm most looking forward to. For me, don't care about the draft. I'm sorry, I don't care about the draft. I know it's I didn't understand why the draft was there. I mean, I guess it's like a Jurassic Park ripoff, but other than that, I did not care. It's just there. It was cool. It was neat. Pet the draft. Cool. Don't give a shit. But I am most looking forward to the snow section, and then with Harry and his brother. Why can I not remember his fucking brother's name? But
well,
those two
on the cast list, there's a Henry.
Oh, that's. Sorry, I've been meant to be saying Henry this whole time, not Harry. Sorry, apologize. You guys been yelling at me like it's fucking Henry. Sorry, I meant Henry the whole time. But Sam, Henry and Sam. That's the brothers. That's the brothers.
You couldn't remember because you kept on saying the wrong name.
Probably, but yeah.
And then Troy Baker plays someone. I don't know who.
Oh,
Troy Baker plays because it's not listed, but he plays someone. Holy shit!
Wait, how? What did they actually get him in the? Is he in the show then?
I don't know.
Because they would have to, unless they somehow got him in a voice that he doesn't have to show his face.
Who does Troy Baker play in The Last of Us show?
Wait, is it Tommy? Is he Tommy?
No. Tommy's guy is Gabriel Luna. No.
Okay.
Wild Johnson's. No, I don't know. Nope, I don't know.
Okay, I didn't even know, so I don't really care. But then, so that's what I'm most looking forward to. Like what I'm most hoping for.
I thought I recognized Tess's actress. She's the chick that she's 7 of 9 from Star Trek. Did you ever watch Star Trek? Oh, well, she's 7 of 9 in Star Trek. So anyway,
cool.
Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us. If you went through all of this spoiler shit and you haven't seen the show yet, go fucking watch it.
By the Sarah's a mixed girl. I wanted to point that out.
Yeah,
she's
Sarah,
mixed.
Yeah.
She's mixed. She's not white, which I will say. Okay, by the way, this is real. Sorry, I know you were trying to close, but
no, you get.
One thing I was confused. I was wondering was because I remember for the Resident Evil show, right? One of the criticisms that I heard from a few people was that they went a little overboard changing all the casts, like whether it's your skin color or your orientation or your whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Like people were just like, no, we're fine with it, but it was just like, yo, this is a video game adaptation. So we are kind of expecting some similarities here, but you guys went and changed the fucking everything. And there's a fine line that I'm starting to notice amongst like that whole thing, and even people who are down with those causes. There's a fine line that I'm starting to see where like it's almost like it's just like you're doing it for the sake of it without any real purpose or reason. And even people who are down with those causes, they're even just like they're getting a bit upset. It was like, you know, like don't just make them the token gay person or because it wasn't one before, or the token this, you know, Asian person or whatever, or change them to a woman or a man when they weren't that before, just for the sake of it, right? Like if you're going to do it, like at least do it sparingly so it's more impactful, or do it with a purpose and with your narrative. So when they changed Sarah to a mixed person, I was like, huh, okay, that's interesting. I mean, I'm not mad about it because, I mean, I'm mixed, so I mean, that's cool, you know. But I was like, are they going to change everybody? Like, is everyone going to get changed? So I'm like, yeah, I get it. It was a whole white cast except for Marlene. But like, you know, I don't want everything to get changed. Like, like I remember them as they were, and I still like them even if they were white, you know. So, but I was like, but Pedro's Hispanic. But at least they took the detail of making his brother Hispanic. So they didn't like fuck shit up, you know, make Tommy white when Pedro, I mean, I know Joel's supposed to be white, but obviously he's played as a Mexican. So like it just, or Hispanic person. So at least they took that into attention. Like, so it's like, you know, it's anyways, I was just going to say, I appreciate it, but I do hope that like not everyone gets changed just because they had an all white cast. Like, I'm not saying
Henry and Sam, but like,
They were. You're right. So it's like, but there's only like 3 black people in the whole game that mattered, and it was those 2 and then Marlene, and everyone else that you came across, fought or whatever have you, was white, mostly white, I believe. I think some of the guards, they had a complexion that they might have been a different skin color. Like if you actually turn the camera around and look at them, they look like they might have been black or Hispanic or Asian or something like that. But they're guards. It's like whatever. They're fucking. They're fodder. So that's the only thing I got to say about it. It's just, I mean, I don't mind change. Obviously, I'm not trying to say we don't want it, obviously, but I'm just saying, like, don't, if you're going to do it, have a reason, or at least make it make sense. That's all I'm asking. That's all I have to say on that. But hey, she's black. She's black. So that's kind of cool, you know? So I'm not going to say it wasn't cool, because it was. And so I was like, oh, nice little touch there. Not mad about it. But yeah, anyways, that's all I had. That's all. I just wanted to put that out, that last little thing. So black people,
back to the outro.
We have another black person in the show, so be happy. But yeah. So that's it for this one. We will be covering we're gonna have to talk how we're gonna cover it, because he usually has school or work on Mondays and shit. So and it is come out on Sundays. I don't know if his wife's gonna let him be recording, be all loud and shit at 9:30 at night. So don't know how we're going to figure that out. But we'll come with you guys on our reviews on all the episodes, however many there are. We don't know. I haven't looked at it. If they said how many or not. Maybe they have. Maybe they haven't. But with an hour and a half,
we're here till it's done.
With an hour and a half, there might be 6, might be 9, might be 10. If there's 12, I'm gonna be very surprised how they fucking flesh that out. Because the game, it only takes like 10 hours to beat. 10, 12 hours to beat. So I don't know. And but the cutscenes are only about 4.5 hours long. So I don't know how they're gonna flesh that out if it goes 12 episodes. But anyways, we'll bring them all to you guys. So stay tuned if you want to hear our thoughts on it. Remember, they're all gonna be spoiler. So be prepared. They're all going to be spoilers. All of them. I'll put it in the title. I'll make sure it's in the title. It's spoilers. Spoilers. Definitely spoilers. Spoiler review. On all the episodes, give our thoughts on them, see how they continue to adapt it properly, how they explain things, if they might take stuff out or change it, or how things just end up paying off in the show. So
yeah, but give your ratings below too on both as a show and as an adaptation. If you've played the game, if you haven't played the game, just as a show, and then let's have a conversation in the comments.
Yeah, I'll make sure I see all of them and yell, and you can yell at me all you want for saying Harry, and I'll yell at you for being dumb. So, that's gonna wrap up this one, guys. Thank you for joining us. We will see you guys next week sometime. It may not be on Monday, depending on when we can get the next review out. But we'll see you next time when we have the next episode reviewed. And with that, take care, like, comment, subscribe as always, and goodbye. Bye.